Hey team, welcome back to another incredible episode of the Intentional Agribusiness Leader podcast. This is your host, Mark Jewell, and today I am joined by Mr. Gavin Rulon. He is the Emerging Technology Advisor at Beck's Hybrids, and I'm excited about this because we're about to nerd out on some AI stuff today and get into some tech talk because we quite frankly, are living through the fourth industrial revolution as far as I'm concerned. And in the near future, the world will not be the same. So I think this is a poignant and very intentional conversation that needs to be had. Gavin, welcome to the show.
Hi, well, thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, man. Excited to have you on. Excited to get into this. You get the same opening question everybody gets, though, which is what does it mean for you to be intentional?
Okay. Well, a few years ago, I took some coach training at Larksong in Marion, Indiana. And that's where I really learned about intentionality. And that training helped me put into words how I thought about it.
Mhm.
So to me, being intentional means deciding how I think, not just what I do. It's a difference between being reactive and just letting my day happen to me and being
Mhm.
proactive by stepping back and to focus on what actually creates the most value. So,
You bet.
yeah, I recognize, we hardly ever have all the information, perfect
Yeah.
information. So, being intentional or intentionality is about making the best possible decision with the data available and then intentionally staying open minded so that we can pivot as new information emerges.
Mm. So good. So good. I like it. I like it a lot. And we talk a lot about this on the show, but being proactive versus reactive. And in as much as everybody will nod their head and say, yeah, that's what we got to do, it's also one of the hardest things for us to do. We're
Yeah.
so reactive. And I think we're reactive in every industry, but particularly in agriculture because of the nature, the cyclical nature of the markets, the cyclical nature of how this world of production ag works. We're constantly reacting,
Yeah.
to what's going on, and it's because we have to. That's part of the survival mechanism of staying alive in this space, and but that's where good intentional leadership comes in. And the more proactive we are during the non-reactive times, the better off we are, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, man. Well, okay. So what does an emerging technology advisor do at Beck's Hybrids?
Well, so we've identified really three priorities that we want to focus on in emerging technology. First
Okay.
one is to support Beck's AI initiatives, whatever those projects are. Currently, it's Seed IQ. Folks can go to beckshybrids.com and can see Seed IQ there and try that out. But another priority is our AI education. We want to empower our employees and dealers to
Hmm.
be able to utilize these AI tools. And
Hmm.
so internally, we created what's called the AI ambassadors. And
Okay.
in there, we just take everybody who raises their hand and says, I want to learn something about AI. And we teach them introduction to AI, how to safely use the tools, thinking about security, data privacy, things like that.
Hmm.
And also some of the more advanced training, we teach how to use AI as a thought partner, where
Okay.
you, the user, the thought leader, and the AI is your thought partner. And really, it's about finding ways to improve their efficiency in whatever task they're working on. We don't have to, it doesn't have to be the next big thing. It can just be simply taking your email that you're going to send to a farmer, and you want to make sure that you don't sound defensive, if a price question comes up from the farmer. And so,
Yep.
yeah, let's just take my answer, throw it in there, and say, here's the situation. And so from that use all the way to creating a new program, a software program that does some function or some data
Hmm.
analysis,
Yeah.
which kind of leads me into our third priority, which is rapid prototyping. When
Hmm.
somebody has an idea, just this morning before we jumped on the call, a dealer of ours in Iowa had an idea and he shared with me. And so I was working on the analysis that he asked for, and we were trading emails back and forth. And that's just, his salesperson would certainly want to help, but they're not always equipped. They don't always have the data understanding. I've been at Beck's over 30 years, and I built a lot of the data systems that we use and the custom software. I was always part of that work. And so I know where a lot of the data is. So when there's a question, I can quickly pull something together and rapidly prototype it and get the idea back. And then if we need to make it a permanent part of our sales software, we can hand it over to the technical business partners and the software development team, and they can take it from there.
You bet. Wow, that's awesome. Very cool. Well, it's a cool role, and obviously a very important one at this stage of the game. I love this concept of having the AI ambassadors and being proactive, per your definition of intention, right? And doing outreach and creating the space within which people can learn, how to make their day more efficient and how to use these tools and technologies safely. I think that might be, maybe can we start with that just a little bit, because I think AI for some is still kind of a big scary monster,
Yeah.
um, that we don't really know, like, can we trust it? Is it, we've all seen iRobot and Terminator and all this stuff, and we think that's where it's all going. I tend to think totally the opposite. Not that there aren't dangers,
Right.
and I'm willing to be wrong. I just think that the percentage chance that that becomes the future is much less likely than an abundant one where we get to operate much more fluid. But with that in mind, like, so when we think safety, what does that mean for,
Yeah.
like, how to be able to, maybe you can give us a couple pro tips.
Yeah. So one of the simplest examples is a lot of people use the free version of Chat GPT.
Hmm.
And um, in the old versions, or I should say in the old days, which is maybe 3 or 4 months ago, it would, if you use the free software, the free AI, it would take your data and train its model on your data, which essentially it's kind of it makes your data public in essence, but not like it's posted out on Facebook or anything. But it's something that most people don't want. They don't want their data made public in any way.
Yeah.
Well, in ChatGPT in the free version now, you can go click on your name in the lower left-hand corner there, if you're on the web page, and go to the settings, and then go to the data controls. And inside of there, you can now turn off improving the model. And that's just something they threw in there because they saw that their users were actively clamoring for it, and so they did that. But that really ties closely with prompting the AI. So if I'm using a new AI, I want to ask it exactly, how are you going to use my data? If I upload, data, how do you use it? Who sees it? What process does the data go through? How is it stored? And you can ask the AI all these questions, and it will tell you. And then you could um, ask it also, what steps do I need to take to um, to be more secure with my data, to keep it private, and it'll share that with you as well. And sometimes it'll try to sell you something, but
Sure.
most of the time, it'll give you steps that you can do to make it more secure.
Yeah. Yeah. I found it to just be very conversational with me. And so if I want to know, like, hey, is there a way that I can keep my IP safe, right?
Yeah,
And is this going to be shared? Or if I'm sharing something personal, or I've done some financial work with it, right? So how do I keep my personal or business finances from being shared, and those kinds of things? And so
right,
it's pretty good. And I feel very confident that my stuff is not being, scattered to the wind, and everybody's going to know my stuff.
right, right.
Right. So, but it's good. I think it's good to know that, especially if you're inside of a company. And I would imagine, as an entrepreneur, as a self-employed person, it's a little bit different for me. I'm the only one accountable, but if I'm accountable to other people inside of an organization, an 1,100 person organization like Beck's Hybrids, that is a different ball game. So we have to be super careful with what we're doing.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's talk about some of the let's call that the safety briefing. Okay, so now let's
Okay.
talk about some of the, let's talk about some of the cool stuff. So what's new? So it's April 2nd, 2026 as we record this. This probably comes out in about a month. So let's say it's about the 2nd of May ish, maybe today or something in that ballpark, whatever that first Monday of May is going to be, most likely ballpark. What are the big advances in like AI? Like what do we maybe not know that has happened all of a sudden and now this is possible and that wasn't possible 3 months ago?
Ah, oof.
I know
Well,
it's a
I
lot
guess
there,
there's
so just pick your favorite ones.
okay. Well, something that I don't know if everybody knows this. So Perplexity, which is an AI tool, for $20 a month, you can get access to Perplexity, which that's one I buy on my own dime because I think it's a neat tool. And
Hmm.
every morning it gives me an update of the news. And once a month, I ask it to do a deep dive on agriculture and AI or emerging technologies in ag. And most of the time it's deep, equipment type advances. See and spray is getting upgrades and getting more advanced quicker, able to make better decisions, things like that. um, but what I see for the people using it day to day is still just getting over the fear. So the advancements are really, you know getting over any pause in trying to just use a tool and just getting familiar with it. The tools from John Deere and the big companies, they're going to come, and they're going to come with, of costs and everything associated with it, but they're going to be great. I mean, whatever they do, they're probably going to do pretty well if you want to spend the money on it. But the individual taking the time to learn about Notebook LM, which is a Google product. We were talking about Gemini earlier, and it's a wonderful tool where you could take, if you are working on different equipment, you could take those equipment manuals in PDFs, throw them into Notebook LM or a website that talks about them, throw it into Notebook LM, and have Notebook LM there to answer questions for you on your cell phone while you're in the field. Um, the head of precision farming at Beck's, Craig Rogers, he took all the different monitors and monitor manuals, that is, and threw them into a notebook. This was last year, and shared it with his whole team. So when they're out there helping farmers calibrate their monitors or whatever, they've got the manuals to pull up if there's any questions. And
Yeah.
so versus like the big interesting things that are coming, which there's plenty of those things as well. But I just think
Hmm.
these small uses are so effective for farmers and for just business users to
Yeah.
understand that the tools are there for them.
Yeah.
Now, I would say something big and exciting that's coming. If this comes out in May, in June or July, Beck's precision farming application, it's called Farm Server. And inside of Farm Server, we're taking Seed IQ off of our regular website, which helps with management practices, and we're pulling that functionality into Farm Server.
Oh,
So
exciting.
that is really exciting for us. That's going to really help people pinpoint management practices for their fields specifically. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, congrats on the progress that you guys are making with that and applying it and installing it in real time. I've checked out Seed IQ. Chris Robnett had pointed it out to me. I'm like, oh, this is really cool, because we're obviously with Jericho, we're doing some similar things and assisting salespeople that are in our coaching programs to be able to basically use it for sales coaching. And
Yeah.
so we've actually installed historically, you think about a training company and they have one training language, right? And it's like you speak this language and otherwise you're doing sales wrong. Okay.
Hmm.
And I found over 15 years of doing this that actually doesn't work. As long as it's consultative and relationship focused, as long as you're willing to do it in ag, it works.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Like you just have to be willing to do it. So we train Jericho on every sales language that we have access to. And
That's
then
great.
everything that's publicly available on every single sales language that we know about. So whatever's on YouTube, whatever's on blogs and books, and it's just so we've scraped it with Perplexity, actually, what you mentioned, and some other services, and then just installed that inside Jericho. So now, when you're getting ready to go have a conversation with the grower, you can put in everything you know about the situation, have like whatever you know about their farm. It will help you write recommendations if you put your products that your co-op or that your independent retailer, whoever you are that's selling the stuff. You just have everything loaded in. It helps you write your recommendation, your pre-call plan, and then helps you overcome objections. Like literally says these are the 5 most likely objections that you're going to face. Right? Here's your price objection. Here's your product objection. Here's your tried this before objection. Right? All of that, and then it writes your objection handling script for you. So, and maybe you don't read it in real time, but you've at least now thought it through before you
Right.
have the conversation. And that sounds advanced, Gavin, to I think most, but also for guys like you and me that are in this every day, it also sounds like, well, this is the worst it's ever going to be.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And it's
Every
like,
day you can say that.
it's magic, but this is the
Yeah.
worst it's ever going to be, and it's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
The Perplexity computer is a
yeah.
really neat tool, and they've turned it on for the $20 a month people. And I got to say, I did some research using that as well on different topics, and I'm just so impressed with the quality,
It's
um,
incredible,
you know,
actually.
that it returns. Yeah. Yeah.
I actually, so I had it take, so every one of these episodes that we make for the show goes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, et cetera, et cetera. But it also goes on YouTube. And so I just gave it the whole YouTube channel, and it learned all of this. Took transcripts from every single one of our episodes. This will be episode roughly 215 to 220, somewhere in that ballpark. And it learned like what it means to be an intentional leader. I mean, it's giving me, so we're actually going to now create, using that tool, we're going to be able to create better teaching tools and products based on hundreds and hundreds of hours of content that we have curated around this one topic. What does it
Yeah.
mean to be an intentional leader?
That's
And
outstanding.
so, yeah, so now we have the authoritative resource on exactly like what that is, because nobody else has done that level of research on this particular topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm excited. We have some things that will be coming to market that people should probably get in line for, that are
Yeah.
gonna help their businesses out quite a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. So that's some of the exciting things. Just what about day-to-day stuff, man? Like, I mean, what are you
Hmm.
doing? How are you using AI to just make life easier?
Um, so many ways. Let's start with so the AI Ambassador Program. What we've done, it started off where we created cohorts, and we would have like 20 people per cohort, and then we did that for a year, and then we learned it's like that's going great, and we could reach more people with short, focused bursts of training. And so just this last month, I started Lunch and Learns.
Okay.
So we're in the Eastern time zone and the Central time zone for the most part. And so I set up different times so that both places can get on. And we've done introduction to AI in 30 minutes. We did
Mhm.
using AI as a thought partner. Um, and by using AI myself, I'm able to quickly put together material. And I think this is an important distinction. I'm putting together material, and AI is serving as a tool to help me do that. But I
Mhm.
already know the material to a large degree. So I think where the confusion comes in with a lot of users is, I'm a, I want to become an electrical engineer. I'm going to sign on to AI and learn everything I need to learn. And I would say you can educate yourself to a great degree about any topic, but
Mhm.
I would hesitate to say that you're going to learn the minutia and the important parts that are required to be effective at a whole new um, area of expertise or whole new knowledge base in short order. We see
Mhm.
this with people that try to vibe code software. That's
Yep.
great. And you can vibe code software effectively for your personal use and maybe small deployments. But large deployments, you're going to require that reliability that we get from software engineering, professional groups or people that have done it in the past, whatever their job is. Because, there's plenty of farmers that we know who built their own software over years. They had one developer that's in the community that helps them out, and they've learned maybe not the software language, but they've learned the pieces that are required. And so anyway, as I create a material for these lunch and learns, we're doing so based on, what I already know. And so I'm able to hone in a little bit more with the AI to get to get the specificity down right for that class.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's one of those. Um, I mean, just I think about the application to the people who listen to this show. You're going to go give a presentation. Okay, you're going to go give a presentation about things that you know about maybe a specific product that your company sells, and you're the representative over this product or this group of products or whatever, or a product class, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is what I do. Like, I'll go out some days, I'll go and set my sauna in the morning, Gavin, early, and I'll just turn on my voice recorder and I will transcribe like 30 minutes worth of everything I know about this particular topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
And
Yeah.
then I take and I dump that into Claude, and Claude helps clean it up and turn it into a PowerPoint presentation and a worksheet
Yeah.
that I can hand out. But and by the way, I've already given it my branding, so it knows like what my company logo is, it knows what colors it needs to be, so it knows how to do all of that stuff. And so how long would it take you to sit down and create a course,
Right.
right? Like this with the PowerPoint and a workbook and worksheets and all that stuff. I mean, you're talking that in days. This is a
Yeah.
days project, not just a. But now in 30 minutes, I can brain dump pretty much everything that I need to know. It probably has context of other things that I know. Then I can take some other PDFs that I already have saved on my laptop, and I can drop those in there because they're relevant. And then just say these are the objectives of the course, and it will put it together in a few minutes, tops, in terms of
Yeah.
time. And then a few minutes later, I've got a full PowerPoint deck. And by the way, if the PowerPoint deck isn't good enough, I can take that over to Google Slides. If you go to Google Slides now, I don't know if you've seen this at the bottom, they have the beautify my slide button. It's fantastic, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Keeps it on brand, and it takes my simple bullet points and turns them into graphics that are actually contextually appropriate. So if it's about plants, like it will turn it into a plant. If it's about a life cycle, it'll make a life cycle graphic.
Yeah.
It's unreal. And again, that happens in a matter of minutes. So probably within an hour, something that used to take days, we can be done with.
Yeah. And for me personally, the tools I'm using right now, I use a Chat GPT's Codex.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fantastic tool. Just this morning, I was using it to, where a dealer had questions about sales numbers, and I pulled in sales numbers and showed the dealer exactly where they were based on, the rest of the dealerships, where they were as far as percentile breakouts. And, something like that, writing the code to do that data analysis would have taken me a few hours. And I started at, maybe 7 this morning and sent them an email by 7:15. It's just that quick. And we have like you mentioned Chris Robnett already. He's phenomenal. He's such a great aid to me as I'm trying to do this, because he's in our education team at Beck's, but he's worked all throughout, the industry in multiple different roles in leadership and sales. And so his insight is invaluable to someone like me. So if, to the farmers out there, the business folks out there, I would say get next to the nerd that is, working, that your nerd that you work with, and give them the background, give them the context of what you want to accomplish. One of our top, so at Beck's, under the director of sales, we have regional business managers. And one of our regional business managers was signed up to be one of the first AI ambassadors. And he's phenomenal. He constantly is sharing ways that he takes the information that he needs to disseminate, and quickly, in the morning while he's drinking his coffee, hands out or sends out all the reports that he needs and all the updates that he needs to get and things. And then he can get on with his day visiting farmers, which is the best use of his time. And that's the
Yeah,
thing that AI can never replace is the person
exactly.
with the relationship with the farmer. Uh,
It's yeah. By the way, I just want to tap on that because I love that you bring it up. So the more time that I use these tools to save, like the more time I now have to do things that matter more,
yes.
right? That matter the most, the highest leverage, the highest leverage activities, those things that actually generate revenue, generate real relationships, the things that spending time with my kids.
Yeah.
And we can still put out a high quality of work, but some of the stuff that you were grinding over historically, you can now do relatively quickly.
Yeah.
And I believe in many cases you'll be able to automate for
Yes.
yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think there's the big scary monster right now is, oh, it's going to take our jobs, it's going to eliminate our jobs. And I think some jobs will become irrelevant, but that happens every year anyway as technology advances. It always has,
Yeah.
right? Um, and then will happen. I was just listening to a podcast the other day. It said, it took 15 years from the time that the first powered motor carriage, the first car, hit the market. 15 years until horses were largely eliminated. Okay, so there's time, right? But guess what? We still have horses, and horses have a purpose, and they just do other things,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so. This is kind of like that, except we're not horses, we're people. And now this is my one true hope with it, Gavin, is that um, just because people can get things done more efficiently, that they don't just do more things.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because one of the biggest issues in our Thriving Leader program that we run, which is it's a leadership program designed to develop the whole person, not just the salesperson or the CEO or the regional vice president or whatever their title. The biggest issue that they bring to us is like, I just feel I'm unfulfilled, I'm overstressed, my work-life balance is out of whack, I never have time for all the things, I'm unhealthy, right? These are the
Mm.
big challenges that they struggle with. And so my hope is that you don't just pile more stuff in because you can get more stuff done.
Right. Right. Yeah. Take, yeah. Take that extra time that you freed up and utilize it in ways that humans are uniquely able to, do better than machines are ever going to do. And that's relationships. Scott Beck has said, so the first 29 years of my 33 plus year career at Beck's was spent in technology leadership, as the IS manager, then the data and development lead, and then the director of technology. And one thing that Scott Beck was always consistent about is he said, I never want technology to do what people should be doing. I want technology to assist people so that they can, free up their time to do what's important. And that's always been our guiding light at Beck's, at least as far as technology goes, right? We're not trying to
Yeah.
take anybody's job well, we just won't. That won't happen at Beck's as long as it's family owned.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, hey, if we can help people meet deficiencies, and that was really what I wanted to get out of this conversation today, Gavin, is just diving in and say, hey, there's some really interesting things. There's some cool tools out there. Notebook LM should just be, to me, that's almost like knowing how to use Microsoft Word today.
Yeah,
Like you just need to know how to use that because it's so valuable. You can take all of your resources on any topic under the sun, drop it all in one place, and create a podcast, create a presentation, create a video, and then have a searchable database that's ready for you to go. In fact, I mean, in
yeah,
training, what we're doing is we'll go into a sales training. Let's say we're working with a seed dealer, and we'll have them drop in all their information and then create trainings to teach each other using Notebook LM.
oh, that's great. Yeah,
Like to have fun with it. And it's like, hey, let's take this weird angle on, this particular seed trait. Let's create a little podcast about that. And I'm going to text that to everybody. So they have a 3-minute little podcast they can listen to about what I think is cool about XYZ hybrid,
yeah.
that kind of thing. Like these
You
are ways
know,
that we can help each other. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And at our Christmas meeting at Beck's, which was early December, one of our sales folks from Michigan came and talked to me, and he said, I can't get my guys to read any emails. So what I want you to do is use AI and make me a cartoon that I can send them that'll tell them what's happening as far as the.
Yeah.
And so I probably spent a week because making video at that point. Now this was December of 2025, not that long ago, but it took maybe a week for me to finally get something that I thought was good enough that I uploaded to YouTube and then gave him the link to share with his people. And it wasn't exactly what he wanted, but it was something. And then maybe a month later, I downloaded the marketing's guide of things that salespeople should be doing this month. If you ever get stuck, go visit the farmer, talk about field signs or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And so I took that and then I used ChatGPT, and then I used a product called HeyGen, which was a paid subscription, to create a video. And that was back in January. Well, just yesterday, a guy that works for me the only guy that works for me currently in the emerging technology team, he's our prototype engineer. He sent me a link to a thing called Remotion, which is all free. And so I was able to link it up to my ChatGPT and was able to create a video in, 10 minutes? So this is just from December to today. It went from several hours and over a few days to create something to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It is changing that fast.
Yeah, it's changing and it's faster and cheaper. And off the mic, I was telling you, look, my prediction for the training world, which is where I live, is we'll be able to create good quality audio and video training resources on the fly on a per person basis, meaning you'll have custom training written. And then, by the way, like I got my start in this business selling custom training. I sold to Murphy Brown back in 2010. A video-based training program teaching the farrowing process in English and Spanish.
Wow.
Okay, to be taught on an iPad. So this is 16 years ago, and I don't know. We charged tens of thousands of dollars to create that. More than 50,000. It was a lot. And so, and it was like 5 little videos. Okay. I remember being so proud of that, that project, because it was so innovative and just ahead of its time, and nobody else has anything like this, at that stage of the game. And now here today, you're telling me I can go to what is this is it called?
Well, now hold on here. Let me just get the Remotion. That was it.
We need to start getting like affiliate links for stuff. Okay, so Remotion. So now I can go to Remotion, and I can probably do the same stinking thing with that information and have it ready to go in 10 minutes for free.
Yeah.
Right. So I think
it helps that the script, right? You know what you want to prepare, and so it's not that anybody could go do it, but could you? Yes. Right. Yeah.
But what I did the other day is we've been documenting SOPs inside of our business, and so there's an SOP for this podcast. Okay, and so there's all the things that you experienced on the front end, which is when Ani reached out, and I think she got introduced to you from Chris, and so there's we about every 6 months we email our entire list of past guests, and we ask for recommendations of people that they think we should have on, because they know the show. And so our guests continue to get better and better because we have great people like you who then say, oh, you should have so and so on, right? And we've had an outsized number of Beck's hybrids people, which, by the way, I have no financial relationship with Beck's whatsoever, just so that we're clear. They're not a customer. They're not paying for this. They just have recommended a lot of cool people like you to come on the show, and that's it. I don't make any money off of this show at all. And so, but anyway, so she has that process that she goes through of doing the outreach and then finding people to be on the show. And she kind of knows the type of person that we want. And then she does the outreach, and then she brings them on the show, and then I interview them. And this is the only part that I touch. I don't touch anything before you get on, and I don't touch anything after. Everything is all a process, and somebody else handles that. And so she documented every step of the way. Okay. But if there was if she decided to not be here anymore or couldn't be here anymore, there were some steps along the way that would be like, oh well, like what's the login for Riverside, and what's the password for YouTube, and things like that would be important. If I had to go do it myself tomorrow, the podcast wouldn't happen.
Mm.
Okay. And so we went into Claude Cowork, which again, you have to have the paid version to get into Cowork, and you have to download it to your desktop for those that are interested. But I went and I said, hey, I want to create a skill to create SOPs. And
Yeah.
then we did a couple of iterations to come up with the level of specificity that we would require. Okay. But it took a 3-page SOP. And now just by Ani going in and asking or answering a few questions, right, and then giving it the information that it needs, it literally, all it did is now it's just a wizard. And you give it the information it needs for that SOP, and it creates that SOP in like 10 minutes.
Wow.
It's detailed. It's now 24. It's now a 24-page SOP, but somebody could pick this up tomorrow and just follow it step by step by step and be able to produce the pod.
Yeah.
And now we're doing that for every single one of our SOPs because it will take almost no time comparatively to the amount of time it would take to type all of that out and think it all through. Now it's
Right.
doing 90% of it for you.
Right.
So,
Right. You know, that's
and that's the custom skill, by the way, to our business. It wouldn't make sense. I couldn't apply that to your business. It wouldn't make sense for you. And so everybody will be able
yeah.
to have their own custom little skills built into their AI tools that are just for them.
Yeah. And you know, that's going back to your question on the big news in the AI world.
Mm,
It reminds me that Claude's code base, you know, and their map got released in the latest version.
yeah.
Um, I can't help but wonder, did they just do that on purpose to kind of the steer the people that are building things now into a
Yeah.
safer use case, into a safer way of creating tools?
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know that, of course, but
Right.
they've proven that it's not writing crazy software anymore. It's creating these skill files, which are just text files that, you know, detail how a skill works, how a skill functions. I
Yeah.
made my slides for, I just started doing onboarding also for new Beck's hires,
Okay.
where, you know, I'll spend 30 minutes and just give them a brief overview of AI and safety, you know, that kind of thing. Um, and I just took my intro to AI slides that I already had, threw them into Codex, and said, "Hey, I want to make you know, some onboarding slides for new hires. They're going to be all kinds of, you know, different skill levels and different jobs. And also, I want you to look at the Bex Hybrids website to get the right, you know, color palette and the logos and stuff." And it did all that work and created me a PowerPoint file that's just all I got to do is run it.
Yeah, exactly. It's that simple, which is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
What I want to bring the show in for a landing here, Gavin. And I want to kind of do it with this lens. Yeah, I do. There's a lot of chatter out there, a lot of talk, about the elimination of jobs. We've already talked about it a little bit. I do believe that's many people's jobs will look different.
Yeah.
We're already doing jobs differently, you and I, just in our roles. I think, we're helping salespeople bring AI into their recommendations and bring it into their sales process and do a better job of. We created a CRM tool for them where they never have to enter any data.
Nice.
All they have to do is record their conversation when they have when they sit down with the customer, and then they just drop that file in, and everything gets squared away.
It's
To the
great.
point it has automatic deal recognition, so you don't even
Yeah.
have to like you don't have to do anything. Just drop in, just you're having the conversation anyway, record it, drop it in, and you're done, and everything is done for you. Like, we made it as easy as possible. So if you don't want to enter info into your CRM now, like, you don't want to sell things, like. um, but as we think about where it's going, I think there's two camps. I'd be interested to know which one you're in and where you think, what this means for companies in ag. And so there's two camps. There's the one where it's the dystopian future where everybody's displaced and we don't have, jobs anymore. And everybody has to have universal basic income and all these scary words for conservatives. And then on the other side of it, you have people like Elon who are saying in 10 years, the US economy is going to be 10x what it is today. Right. So we think about it like from an abundance standpoint. So there's the scarcity side and then there's the abundance standpoint. And it's easy to bounce between both of them depending what situation you're facing. Curious, like which one of those resonates the most with you? And then how do you think that plays out in the ag industry?
I am an eternal optimist. So I'm
Yeah.
always going to be on the abundance side. Well, I've recreated my own job at Beck's multiple times, from sitting on the
Mhm.
sales counter when I started to being writing the IS manager job and all these other jobs up to even this most recent emerging technology. I created that. I didn't know what
Yeah.
I was going to do, but I knew I could figure it out. And
Yeah.
what I think for the dystopian people, what I would encourage them to think about is just because we can do something doesn't mean that we always do it. In fact,
Mhm.
we usually don't. It's usually in degrees. So you may find some things that are uncomfortable, like you said. We're going to have to learn new skills. If you were a horse, a horse groomer, when horse and buggies were all over the place, yeah, you may have lost your job. You may have had to become something different. Maybe you still took care of horses. Maybe you became a taxi driver or something. But
Yeah.
so we're gonna have to embrace that our jobs are gonna change just like our world will change. But I do think it's gonna be a net positive. You've got people like the Becks who are running companies that are committed to people. You
Mhm.
know, the thing they tell all of us over and over again is our only job is to help farmers succeed, and that is a major focus as I try to create content to help people learn how to utilize AI. Is how does this help you succeed? So I don't want to get too far off topic, but just I'm very optimistic, and I feel like the future is very bright. Maybe all the
Mhm.
great things that could happen don't happen, but it's going in the right direction. We're taking this technology. A lot of good has come out of it. People are able to expand their minds and learn more than they've ever been able to before. Honestly, I think the biggest threat to us is
Mhm.
giving away our agency to an AI in the sense
Mhm.
where we let it become the thought leader. And that would be the only thing that I would say that's absolutely wrong. We are the thought leaders. We need to utilize it like a tool.
Yeah.
If you're going to, it's like any other tool in your tool bag.
Yeah. I think anybody who is willing to abdicate their throne, so to speak, will be ruled by something else. And that's something that we just can't allow it. We can't let it to
Right.
become the thinker for us. And I mean, transparently speaking, I mean, just experience that in my own little way. One of my intentional things that I do in the mornings is I wake up and I go out and I prepare my wife's coffee to be made, and then I would leave her a little sticky note with something encouraging, and usually it's a little piece of scripture. And then I figured out, I was like, oh, I can just have ChatGPT like prep me with a little note every morning, and I just created this little automation so it's like it's there. And I found myself just copying that note. And so I disciplined myself. I said, no, like your brain has to remember how to write things. Like you can't, like it's very easy to get lazy and let technology do too much for you. Like there's a discipline there, and there's something that means more to her when I write it than when it comes from a piece of technology and I just copy it.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
there's an important distinction there that we need to make sure that we don't lose the humanity
Yeah.
of things. But I don't think that it's going to destroy agriculture. I don't think it's going to destroy work. I think it can make us all exponentially better if we
Yep.
decide to take control and use it. And that requires the whole point of the show, intention.
Yep. It's
So,
great.
man, thank you. This has been a really fun conversation, very vibrant conversation. I look forward to it coming out and seeing what people think. So,
All right.
if you're getting this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, leave your comments down below. We want to hear what you're thinking about this topic because I think it's very, very interesting and poignant for the world we're in today. Gavin, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you very much.